So for today, we'll be talking about Nutrition 101 for kinship guardians. But why nutrition? Why is it important? Um, so I just wanted to start here and really talk about brain development. It's so huge for our children. So during infancy, from 0 to 1 years old, we see the brain develop, and it has 200 billion brain cells called neurons, and the brain is growing 1.7 grams during a day during the first year. For nutrition, 60% of infants' energy intake from food is used for brain growth. So they are just literally, you're growing a brain the first 2 years. And from that social emotional piece, babies need love, interaction, touch, and parent and caregivers that are tuned into their needs as much as they need nutrition. So nutrition really goes hand in hand in terms of emotional and social development as well. So during years 1 to 2, what's going on in the brain? Well, communication across different regions of the brain developing occurs more rapidly during the first 2 years of life. They've also said this is the best time when a person is able to pick up a second language is during this time. If they're growing up in a household that speaks multiple languages, they're picking up all that ability to be learning multiple languages. So by age 2, the brain reaches about 75% of an adult weight. Regarding nutrition, DHA and omega-3 fatty acid and chloraline, an essential nutrient, are critical building blocks for the developing brain. In terms of social emotional development, at this age, toddlers are becoming increasingly independent and interested in new things. And then at 2 years of age in the brain, toddlers have more than 100 trillion cells connections called synapses at age 2, the most that they'll ever have in their life. And by age 2, the brain structure has overall an appearance of an adult brain. In regards to nutrition, at 2+ years of age, calcium and vitamin D, which, promotes calcium absorption, helps strengthen the bones and the teeth. And then for social emotional development, toddlers imitate behavior of others, especially adults and older children. So again, that nutrition and social emotional development just go hand in hand, as well as the brain development. So let's talk about infants. So what's going on for development with nutritional pieces from infants from birth to 3? So we start seeing these hunger cues. They're opening and closing their mouth. They're rooting when someone is holding the baby. They're making these smacking and sucking noises. They're sucking on their fingers, their toes, clothes, toys. Satiety cues. They're slow and decreased suckling. They fall asleep. They extend or relax their arms and their legs. So at 6 months, there's kind of this turning point for them. And this is when we see that they might be ready for solid foods. So some signs to look for: being able to control their head and neck, sitting alone or with support, bringing objects to their mouth, trying to grasp small objects such as toys or food, swallowing food rather than pushing it back out. And then the next phase from 8 to 12 months, again, with the hunger cues, we see reaching for the spoon or for food. They get excited about food and they start chopping when others are eating. Some other cues, you might see like eating slowed down when they're satiated, but also clenching their mouth shut. And this is when they've actually started to be able to shake their head to say no more. So they're actually letting, the communication is there to let you know. So from WIC, we have some recommendations on finger food ideas. So They recommended for 6 months or older, feeding your infants puffs or dry cereal, broccoli, steamed or boiled carrots, avocados, pasta, beans, cottage cheese, sweet potatoes, cauliflower, and here you can start introducing soft or tender meats. So let's go ahead and move on to children. So there is an amazing website, which we'll kind of look at a little bit later, called choosemyplate.gov, and it gives a ton of information across the lifespan for different groups of people. So I just pulled this chart because I thought it was just a really good, nice way to compare what should be on children's plate at different ages. So you can see in the first column, we have children 2 to 3, and then in, below it, we have children 4 to 8. So for 2 to 3-year-olds, we're looking at 1 cup of vegetables, 4 to 8, 1 to 1.5 cups. I'm sorry, of fruit. In terms of vegetables, it's actually the same amount. So 1 cup of vegetables for 2 to 3-year-olds, and 1.5 cups of vegetables for 4 to 8. For grains, they recommend for 2 to 3-year-olds, 3-ounce equivalents. And for the 4 to 8-year-olds, they're saying 5-ounce equivalents. For protein, they're for 2 to 3-year-olds, 2 ounces equivalents. And then for the 4 to 8-year-olds, we have 4 ounces. For dairy, they're looking at 2 to 3-year-olds for 2 cups, and for 4 to 8, the 2.5 cups. And so I won't go through the whole thing, but here you can also see we have information for, and this is where it breaks into, we have girls and boys, girls 9 to 13, and then boys 9 to 13, girls 14 to 18, and boys 14 to 18. So you can go ahead and just see all the differences here. I think the biggest difference is it looks like for boys, we're seeing more protein for boys 14 to 18, and also with grains. So just a few things to keep in mind. Something that comes up for children is picky eaters. I don't know if anybody here has ever dealt with a picky eater, but if you have, and you're stressing about it, just always remember that no matter how stressed your child's eating behavior makes you, picky eating is very common in children between the ages of 2 to 5 years old. So I did find some tips if you are dealing with picky eaters. Tip number 1 is provide more food choices. Instead of just offering maybe pasta for dinner, you can say, would you like pasta or would you like fish? So giving them multiple, some choices in the decision making for dinner. Tip number 2 is making them your little grocery store helpers. So actually involving them in the process of helping and putting them in charge. Can you, as you see in this picture, this girl is getting a bell pepper. So can you grab the bell pepper for us? And really praising and rewarding the child as they're interacting and helping, wow, you did such a good job. We couldn't have done this without you. What was your favorite thing that you got to see today? Because they're going to be touching and handling the food as well. So it's creating that experience for them. Tip number 3, time to cook. So really taking time to invite them to be part of the cooking process. So, and it might be little things at first, depending on their age, asking them to help you pour in the ingredients. Like if you're making a cake, for example, can you add in the eggs? Can you add in the oil? Can you help stir? So little things. And then maybe it progresses into these more complicated dishes. But also really good memories. I love this photo right here of maybe a grandparent and a granddaughter cooking together, making pastries, I'm assuming. Tip number 4, make dinner time fun. So finding just these little ways to kind of go outside of just the dishes that maybe they're bored with, or making games about food, or, this one is an example where somebody's like decorated what looks like to be some oatmeal. So just making it really fun and playful, and inviting the child to be, fun and playful with food. And even though it says make dinner time fun, it can also be for breakfast, or it can be outside of that. Usually I think in our culture, what we really see as fun and playful in regards to food is usually in the holidays when we're doing all of our holiday baking. So I think maybe a challenge for all of us is to find ways outside of holiday time to make our food preparation and fun for our children. Another thing that you can do is story time with food. So there are so many beautiful stories out there that are about food. So you're having allowing the children to be seeing and reading about different stories, incorporating food. I chose a couple here that I just thought are adorable. We have Kalamata's Kitchen, we have Soup Day, and we have my nephew's favorite one, Dragons Love Tacos. Absolutely adorable. But I mean, you can continue to see what's out in the world in regards to stories with food. Another tip that they had was imagination, and this one they called the magic wand. So this one was, again, kind of going back to making food playful. They recommended even using a magic wand, quote unquote, and renaming food. So it also gives the children a chance to really be exploring food. And so, coming up with silly names for food, but also, so, again, taking that time to make it food more familiar for them. And then tip number 7, grouping and counting with food. So again, as we have our little learners who are just as their brains are developing and they're learning what numbers are and groups, how to separate things by colors, by size, by shape. This is a perfect opportunity to give them things to count that are not necessarily maybe blocks or something, so lots of colors, lots of different shapes. Yeah. And then another tip that they said was one at a time. And I think this is such an important point is don't try to incorporate all these tips at once. Give yourself a break. You can only juggle one thing at a time. So, be patient. And again, with those picky eaters, just remember it might be stressful for you. You're not the only one going through this experience, and just try these little shifts at a time. So let's move on to teenagers. So just a couple of tips for teens. Something that's super huge is just to be aware of what and how often they're eating. The teenagers, as they're gaining independence, they are spending more time away from home in terms of like school, activities, friends. So really just having awareness of what exactly they're eating is important and how often. And so this is where you have to do some investigation on your end, just to kind of keep up with them so you have an idea. Also, just having extra snacks available for them is going to be huge. And I put in parentheses and their friends, because as we know, teenagers kind of, that's when they're most part of like a community. So if you have a teenager, they're probably going to be grouping with other teens. So inviting their friends to also have snacks with them is good. Again, just a reminder, making sure that they're eating 3 times a day. They have some healthy snacks. It was recommended to increase fiber in their diet and decrease the use of salt. Drinking water is huge. Our teens are just going so, their day is busy, just as busy as us adults. So making sure that they're drinking enough water, and really talking to them about avoiding drinks that are high in sugar. Even though, we know with fruit juice, it can have a lot of calories. So, being cautious of like how much your adolescent is intaking. And, this came from Whole Plates or myplate.gov, and they said again, whole fruit is always a better choice than these fruit juices that have, a lot of sugar and a lot of calories. But also too, this is where we want to be aware, like how much soda are they consuming during the day, as well. And adolescence is when, again, they have more freedom. So especially at school, and depending on what the school has, is offering to the students, they could potentially just be eating chips and a soda for lunch, depending on what they prefer, or candy. So really checking in with them to see what they're eating, and again, eating balanced meals. When cooking for your adolescent, try to bake or boil instead of fry. But this is also an opportunity to invite them to cook with you. Um, Make sure your adolescent watches his or her sugar intake as well. And then eating fruit or vegetables for a snack. So I know a lot of parents that might even just like do like snack preps where they just like cut up a bunch of carrots or cut up a bunch of bell peppers, put them in little bags, and then have them available during the week in the fridge. Decrease the use of butter and heavy gravies, eat more chicken and fish, limit red meat intake, and choose lean cuts when possible. So I also wanted to take a moment to hold some space for some situations that you might need to seek professional support for. So when it comes to children who are autistic or have some sensory issues, children or teens who are dealing with obesity or even feeding and eating disorders, this is where you definitely want to connect and get some professional support to help you as you're working through these like eating and dietary needs for your children. And so this is where you can get a referral for a dietitian or a nutritionist, or even if they need some therapeutic supports, for example, a feeding and eating disorder that usually is that can be prevalent for like teenage girls, is when like anorexia starts, being present for some girls. So if you ever needed some mental health support, there's also that too. So really just keeping an eye out for any, thing that's, if it's too much, too little, if there's any issues with the food and what eating looks like. And again, this is where you're kind of just using your investigative tools and really being mindful and noticing like what and how much they're eating. But yes, and in terms of support, I did want to say, through our fostering family program for our kinship guardians, we have what's called comprehensive community support services. And so we have community support workers who support individuals, families with services and resources to help promote recovery, rehabilitation, and resiliency. So our CSWs address goals in the following functional domains, such as independent living, learning, working, socializing, and recreation. We interact face-to-face and on behalf of the client in community locations, and use a variety of interventions to address barriers that impede the client's development toward independent functioning in the community. This program does require Medicaid, but for example, if we had a family who was having trouble, maybe a kinship guardian just got guardianship of a child and needed some support filling out an application for public assistance, or maybe needed some support getting connected to legal services, or the child in the family needs some educational support in terms of like working through like some school-based skills, or even maybe it's a teenager who needs some support getting writing a resume or looking for jobs or even like practicing job interviewing. These are all some skills that we could provide through this community support services program. So if this is ever something that is interesting to you or that you might want some additional services for, let us know. It does require Medicaid, but we can help you get a referral for this program. So I did want to talk about resources. We have myplate.gov, WIC, Roadrunner Food Bank. The CDC has an infant and toddler nutrition page. We have nutrition.gov and Medline Plus. So I'm going to go through a few of these real quick, and then I'm actually going to hop over into the actual websites to show you a few things. So myplate.gov, just very briefly, it is a you can develop personalized diet plans that meet the daily nutrition requirements of your child. Also for you as well and for the whole family. For WIC, the full name for WIC is Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. This program serves as a safeguard to safeguard the health of low-income, pregnant, postpartum, and nursing breastfeeding women, infants, and children up to age 5 who are at nutritional risk by providing nutritious food and to supplement diets, information on healthy eating, including nursing, promotion and support, and referrals to healthcare. They also provide free healthy foods, ideas for healthy eating and maintaining good health habits, support for nursing families, and connects families with other community services. This combination of services is designed to create a support system that encourages families to feel confident in their own ability to maintain happy and healthy futures. The cool thing, and I will show this to you in just a second, is that WIC is really been promoting farmers markets. So there's a farmers market for the family, and then there's also a farmers market for seniors. And so I will show those two when we go to the website. But I did want to say, in regards to the farmers market, WIC also has a fresh produce for New Mexico seniors. And the Seniors Farmer Market Nutrition Program they are now offering electronic, mobile, and shopper card benefits up to $50 to senior adults over age 60 for non-Native Americans, and senior adults over age 55 for Native Americans who live in New Mexico to buy locally grown fruits, vegetables, cut herbs, and honey from select farmers markets, mobile farmers markets, and roadside stands. So if this fits for you, definitely make sure to look into this and to apply. And so they also have the, if you want to know what is new for the Senior Farmers Market Program, they currently are accepting applications starting today. And so they're taking applications February 15th through June 1st. Funding is first come, first serve. So get your applications in as soon as possible. And then your benefits will be issued on July 1st for both just the families and then also for seniors. So make sure to apply. And then if we also will be posting some information and this training on our Fostering Family website, make sure to go there frequently. We also, we have all of our virtual trainings listed. We have, resources for different topics, including caregiving, just basic child development, mental health resources. We have the links to all of our legal partners. So tons of information. All right, so the first resource I wanted to cover is, excuse me, it's called myplate.gov. And as you can see, they have a section for healthy eating, a section for life stages, they have resources, there's information for professionals, and then there's something called My Plate Kitchen. Life stages, when you scroll down, is separated by all the different life stages. So if you just click, I'll just click into infants. you'll see in here, they have everything is broken down, birth to 6 months, around 6 months, some first foods. They have My Plate tips, and then they have some resources. You come down here to resources, and then they offer you just all these beautiful things in here. They also have a feature called My Plate on Alexa. So if you have Alexa and that's something that you use, they have suggestions for healthy eating that Alexa, I guess, is paired with, so or paired with. But also there's an infant and nutrition feeding guide. There's information on let's scroll down here, preparing and storing powdered infant formula. So, and just some basic information on infant formula feeding from the CDC. And then if you're looking for signs that your child is hungry or full, you can click here. So I would definitely recommend, this is just the infant section, but going through here, looking at, I'll pull up teenagers, kind of give us both ends of the children. They have meal planning supports, healthy eating for teens. Again, they have that app piece, taking charge of your health, a guide for teenagers. They also have a link for girls' health. So just so many beautiful resources here for our teenagers. They do have a section called Kids My Plate. And the Kids My Plate has just, again, like, let me see if I could scroll down. They have like little quizzes and games. Here they are, the game app. So they can be, again, as we were going back to that suggestion of kids reading books about food. Also, as we're thinking about our technologically savvy kids, they can be, they can also be doing little ebooks or games about food as well. So just some different things to kind of help them, like what's a healthy decision kind of piece for them. So you can also print out some of these activity sheets. They have My Plate grocery store bingo, creating their own plate. They have one called a kids food critic activity, drawing some food and looking at how, rating it by the visual appeal, smell, and taste. They also just have this My Plate coloring sheet. So getting them really starting to become familiar with the idea of the food pyramid and how it's broken down. And as you can see, the food pyramid is now shifted from what we grew up, with the actual chart, to like looking at it on a plate. So there's a blank one. And again, just some fun little activities that you can print out for the kids. Going to WIC. So WIC, again, they have information on nutrition and health. So information for women, information for infants, children, and then seasonal nutrition. And really where I wanted to skip to was the farmers market, because I think that this is, again, something everybody should definitely look into, seeing if our families or you qualify for this resource. So again, make sure to fill out this application for the farmers market if you're doing seniors or if you're doing the family. It has all the information down here on how to get, like, what your shopper card is, how it's used, and then also if you go up here to the top, you see how to apply. So first step here with WIC is make sure to apply, so you can see if your family qualifies for WIC. As we're talking about food, I always want to make sure to include the Roadrunner Food Bank. So Roadrunner Food Bank is connected statewide to many different food banks. So it's not just the one Roadrunner Food Bank, they're connected across the state. So if you ever are in need of some additional food, you can always come here and go to Find Help. You can go to Find Food. You can also apply for SNAP benefits. And then also they have a medication discount. let me just start here real quick. This is a really good card. Through the New Mexico, or through, I'm sorry, through the Roadrunner Food Bank, they actually have a prescription card that you can print off right here. And you can take it with you to the pharmacy. If you do have insurance, the pharmacist can see if this medication discount card is more than your current, the discount card you get with your insurance, and will choose the one that has the higher percent discount rate. So this is good. You can print it off. You can print one off for all your family members and hand these out. They're super helpful. Back to finding help, you can also apply for SNAP benefits, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So to see if you can apply or if you're eligible, they go through here. They kind of talk about a couple of eligibility requirements. If you need help applying for SNAP, they can also help you with that. As well as our community support workers. If you're in our CCSS program, our community support workers can also provide you some extra assistance with that. And then the big thing is finding food. So they have, I'm going to scroll down here. They have numbers that you can call. Just, so if you're not able to use an internet or mobile device, you can just call their number and they can direct you to the nearest food bank. But what I love about this website is all the way at the bottom is this beautiful map. And these are all of the food banks that are available in New Mexico. And you click on them and it will tell you what services or what the information for each of the food banks. There might be some restrictions. So I think the second one that's coming up is ACE Leadership High School. And you can say, it tells you what limitations are on here. So this one says this site is restricted to household members of students attending the school. So as you can see of the first one, Abundant Harvest, there's no restrictions here. It just says bring your photo ID, calls for hours. So you could zoom in here. You could see whatever area you're located in. I'm currently in Albuquerque. I'll just pull this one up. And as I'm going here, I could see like, oh, okay, that, let's say I lived here, there might be a food bank here, and I could just click and find these resources. So super helpful. But also too, if you are ever in need of food, please, and you're, let us know and we can also help get you connected. Another website just from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention is their infant and toddler nutrition page. So they just have some basic information regarding breastfeeding, mealtime, formula feeding, vitamins and minerals, all the information, and you can just dive deep here really to see what resources you might need. We also have through nutrition.gov, they have a page on children. So coming in here, they have just all this information on food and nutrition. They have a kids corner. So it says teach children the importance of nutrition and physical activity using interactive websites and games. So again, just a place for them to really be learning how to utilize the tools and learning the resources in a fun way. We also have Kids in the Kitchen. So this is a place where they have recipes available, so things that you could be trying out. And then again, any for weight management for youth, if you're having any issues, you can kind of come here and see what supports they have as well. But it also says there's like links to interactive and skill building tools and more. Another resource for older adults that we found that was really helpful is through Medline Plus, and it's nutrition for older adults. And this really just goes in terms of like just providing like a basic summary on like what good nutrition is, what can make it harder for me to eat healthy as I age. So just some really good information about, as you're aging, what to be mindful about.